Salutations everyone, and welcome to What Mattered, the show where I tell you what mattered in the news this week. Batgirl has a new boyfriend, and I'm just going to talk about the elephant in the room. He's attractive. Why does the guy always have to be attractive? I thought this was supposed to be a progressive society. When is the beautiful girl going to get with an Uggo one of these days, okay? Come on, society. It's time to move on. So the 2-hour Heroes Reborn season premiere started last night. It's going to be a 13-episode long mini-season story arc in a sort of like a reboot, but not really. It's more of just a straight-up continuation of the Heroes storyline, even though many people dropped off after season 2 or 3. I don't even remember where I stopped, but eventually there was a point where you just stopped caring and didn't watch it anymore. But with this reboot, God, it had my curiosity, but after watching the 2-hour premiere, it has my attention because it's pretty darn good. Granted, you aren't going to be able to recapture the exact same magic you did with the premiere or season 1 of Heroes as a whole. That's just not something you can't do again. Once it's been done, it's been done. So, people are going to be disappointed that's not exactly as amazing as first season of Heroes, and it doesn't need to be. But it does show some promise in the development of the storyline. If I tell you about it and you already know what happened in the first at least season or 2 of Heroes, then this would be spoilers, so go ahead and watch it. And if you didn't watch it, then me telling you what's going on is just going to confuse you. So, just for argument's sake, it's pretty good. I don't know if you have to know the previous seasons beforehand, but you kinda do, especially with all the backstories of the characters. Plenty of new characters as well, but we have returning characters like Mohinder Suresh, we have Noah Bennett, we have a couple people who didn't make their, reappearance in the first 2 episodes, but we know that will be coming back in the future. Interesting developments about what's happening in this world with the Evos, what happens after that character did that thing that character did in season 3 or whatever that I didn't see, but I read up on it. And it looks pretty good. It definitely has promise. It's definitely it's different than anything else on TV right now. And we know it's a condensed 13-episode season, but Tim Kring and the producers and people have had time to try to recapture some of the magic, and I think they've done a pretty good job so far. So I'm going to finish out this series and see where it leads us, because I think it's leading us toward a pretty good little mini series here. And after what we saw from the first season plus of Heroes, it's good to see that there's still some awesome stuff back. So many of your favorite video game voice actors may be going on strike. If a deal is not met in the coming months, SAG-AFTRA's meeting where they're going to be discussing such matters as payment for voice acting. In the video game industry, it makes like 4 times as much as the movie industry does year over year, and that's probably just going to be increasing for the foreseeable future, because video games just, there's no brakes on that damn thing. And video game voice actors just don't get paid nearly what like Class C actors get in like a AAA blockbuster. And that disparity is kind of ludicrous when you see how much money these performances are making many of these games. Now the supposed way to fix this and have them not go on strike, with many people saying that they're in support of the strike, such as Jennifer Hale and Phil Lamar and Steve Blum and Will Wheaton, is that every time a game makes 2 million copies, they will be paid extra royalties. Now this was a very, very minefield of things to tiptoe around when it comes to getting paid in the game industry. Now, voice acting as a whole just doesn't get paid probably what it should when it comes to the amount of money that their products make, but the same can be said for the creators, whether that be in animation or video games, when it comes to the programmers, the designers, the artists, the storyboarders, the writers, the directors. people just don't get paid what they should be paid based off of how much money their products are making. Voice actors and game makers included. I don't think that the video game makers should be excluded when it comes to this sort of outcry and how much, you know, they aren't being paid as compared to what they are making when you compare it to something similar like a movie or a TV show. Now, if they do get paid, you know, extra royalties per 2 million, they also say that they can have the initial price be lower for voice acting so that, you know, those lower, you know, indie titles or people that, you know, aren't huge AAA game makers can afford the voice actors, you know, without having to worry about this kind of, you know, extra overhead being a problem, unless of course the game is huge, in which case they'll be able to make those extra bonuses. We see game makers being laid off left and right all the time, studios closing down, studios getting huge and then getting smaller and then big, and sometimes they'll get bonuses like what happened with Activision and Guitar Hero, and then they were asked to give back some of that money because then Guitar Hero wasn't what it was. So there's a lot of problems to be had in voice work as a whole, including in the video game industry, as well as the game developers themselves, because they aren't getting paid what they should be getting paid based off of the money that they are making these huge companies. And a bit of a surprise, Black Ops 3 is not getting a campaign in old generation consoles. For PS3, 360 players, there's no campaign for you guys. You're just getting multiplayer in zombies, which shouldn't be a big deal to the vast majority of COD players. The vast majority of players never even touch the campaign, and those that do touch the campaign, the vast majority never even finish it. Now, as a COD player myself, the campaign hasn't been a selling point since Modern Warfare 2. You know, when that's when, you know, the whole online thing really exploded, and that became the main focus. People buy Call of Duty for the multiplayer. So, for the most part, I don't think this is such a big deal. If you're real big on story, you own a console or PC that can play current games anyway. I know people hate it when I bring up current generation consoles because apparently they're hated on just so much. People want to play on their 360s and PS3s till the world turns over. But with this, you know, absence of a pretty staple feature in COD games and video games as a whole, the price is being reduced by $10. Now you may be thinking, you know, only, you know, 10 out of 60 bucks for missing a huge chunk of the game. They just couldn't make the campaign work on old generation consoles. It was just too much energy, too much heat being produced, and they were trying to make it all the features that they could with the current generation consoles and PCs to, you know, actually use those features and those specifications and those graphics cards and all the processing power that, you know, the current generation games are nowadays. They want there to be a step up, which not a lot of games have done recently, especially since they keep pandering to the old generation of consoles, which makes sense because that's where most of your money is going to be coming from. But you might be missing out on something cool. In other gaming news, Twitch has unveiled changes that they will be making starting in 2016. New features available, as well as hopefully a much more reliable video streaming, because they are switching from a combination of Flash and HTML5 to just straight HTML5, which is a much needed change. It was just too much on the computers for a lot of people to handle. You know, a lot of problems came from it, is the point. Also available is that they will be able to have you just upload videos instead of live streaming and then putting them on your VODs. You can just upload videos that you didn't record live, as well as arranging them in playlists and creating your own thumbnails. We have our games for gold for October will be as follows. For the Xbox One, you get Valiant Hearts for the first half of the month. In the second half of the month, you get The Walking Dead Season 1, the entire season. Award-winning game. Valiant won a few awards as well, so two pretty standardly awesome titles for the Xbox One. And for the 360, you get Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, which the Xbox One already had a few months ago, and you also get The Walking Dead Season 1 at the end of the month. We finally have word on when the Star Wars Battlefront will be available to everybody for free on current generation consoles and PC. It'll be starting on October 8th, ending on October 12th. This enables you to play both online and offline modes, which is not something you see a whole lot of for open betas. You don't need any code, you download it, I would assume, like most other open betas of the past year. So that seems really cool. So we only have 2 weeks before things really start kicking off, guys. We have that. I mean, we already have the Rainbow Six Siege beta going on right now. I just got my code yesterday, haven't played it yet. But now we have the Battlefront beta in a couple weeks, and then like a week after that, we get Halo 5 Guardians, and then a couple weeks after that, we get Black Ops 3, and a couple weeks after that, like 10 days after that, we get like Battlefront, and boy is it going to be busy, especially if you like AAA titles and or first-person shooters and or just having a good time, because this shit is going to be crazy. Anywho, in the Blowfish, that is what mattered this week. If you'd like to know what matters in the future, you can hit the subscribe button. One of these What Mattered episodes comes out every single Saturday to tell you all what mattered in the week. Hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. Leave your comments in the section below about any of the stories that I mentioned, and we'll see you guys next time.